Welcome. Why is it doing that? Making sure I'm being seen. Okay. Welcome to today's The Journey Within to Divine Earth School. Making sure that I can be seen. Give me a second. Just trying a different setup here. So give me a moment. I go switch accounts and go here. If you're in the chat, feel free to let me know that you're here. Let me see my lives. Let's see. Okay, cool. So hopefully that starts soon. Not really sure why I said 2 hours ago. Okay, cool. Making sure that I can be seen and heard. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Okay, cool. Welcome to today's Journey Within. Today I'm super excited to talk about this topic because we're going to be talking a little bit about how to navigate your inner world for greater peace and ease. If you're joining me live, feel free to say hi in the chat. Again, my name is Rachael Alexander. Hello, Mosaic Souls. Hey Mosaic Souls, this is Rachael Alexander, artist and Mosaic Soul mentor, aka spiritual life, wellness, and business coach here at Divine Earth School. And I'm super excited to talk about this topic. So let's dive into this topic. I wrote some things down to discuss what the inner world is. So how I want to go about this topic is first talking about what is the inner world, right? And how do you navigate that, right? So first off, when you're thinking about, kind of don't want to hold this. Let me see. When you're thinking about the inner world, I want you to think about it with 4 different aspects of yourself. There's actually a lot more, but I'm just going to break this video down into just 4 different aspects that are super crucial and important to help you greater align with who you truly are, to allow more of your heart and your soul to be at the forefront of how you lead your day-to-day life. So the first aspect that is your inner world is the mind, and the mind is consistent of your current thoughts, memories, beliefs, and beliefs are just repeated thoughts and expectations that are attached to behaviors and emotions. So we have the mind, which is one aspect of your inner world. Then we have the emotions, which is a different flavored energy, which is what I call different flavored energies that are in movement in the body, that arise within the body, right? And feelings are sensations related to emotions in the body, right? So if you think about your feelings, as maybe you might have like a heavy heart, physical sensation of heaviness in the chest, or pit of stomach in your gut, or a pain in the shoulder, or like sensations, right, are really just feelings. And then I like to think of your personality, which is the personal perspective and preferences that you carry, the identification with your human self, right? So there's really sort of like 4 bodies. You have the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, and the physical body, right? So if we go back to attaching what those are, with the mind is the mental body, the emotional body, the emotions, the physical body sensations, right, and the personality. You can connect that to the spiritual body, but that's a whole nother thing. So let's talk about this, right? When I'm talking about how to navigate your inner world, right? A big piece of what I like to share on this channel is learning to, and I talked about this in the last video. I'll pop a link up here after this or below this video, when I talked about how to resource your sense of self-worth. But a lot of it has to do with who are you identified as, right? Nailing down your true identity, and then utilizing these tools or these different aspects of your true self to navigate this human experience, right? So a lot of times when I say your true self, I'll reiterate, I mean your soul self, your spiritual self, right? The part of you that is greater than just this human fleshly suit that we're all inhabiting. It's the part of you that is, you know, infinite, that is eternal, that will go beyond just this human, you know, realm that we are currently inhabiting. This sort of holographic world, universe that we're living in, right? So when I'm talking about your true self, that's what I'm referring to, the eternal part of you, the part of you that is greater than just your human self, right? So when we talk about sort of like the 4 different bodies, the 4 different aspects of yourself, the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual body, your personality, navigating each of these is really crucial to help you tap back into a sense of peace. But many times, most of us are living in this world thinking that we're only our human selves, right? We're only, you know, our day-to-day thoughts, or we're only our identity, right? The different identifications that we have, right? We think that we're only humans, right? We only have, you know, whatever labels that you carry, woman, man, you know, non-gender, binary, whatever label that resonates with you. And then we have sexual orientations, and then we have gender orientations, you know, ethnicity orientations, and all these other things, different roles that we play. I talked a lot about that in the past video. So how do you start to navigate your inner world for greater peace, right? Is getting in touch with these different aspects of yourself and starting to master these different aspects of yourself. And a part of this is you can use the chakra system, which is a way to start to align all aspects of your chakras, which is taps into that mental, emotional, and physical body, right? The spiritual body. And when you align each of these chakras, you start to be in alignment with your true soul self, right? Rather than feeling at effect to life situations and life events that arise in your day-to-day life, right? So how you navigate your inner world is by, one, recognizing that you have an inner world, right? So you're not just all the external things that we're usually trapped in, like where we think that we're human and we have a little dash of spirit, where we're human and we think that, oh, I'm a human being with a spirit. No, actually you're a spiritual being having a human experience, and sort of just reframing that in your mind and letting that become your new identification. And that kind of takes a while, especially if that's not something that you've been used to identifying as. Feel free to say hi in the chat if you're joining me live. So if you're not used to identifying as a soul having this human experience, if you're not used to identifying as a spiritual being first, human being second, right, then a lot of what I might say might not resonate for you. It might go above your head because it's not something that you identify on a day-to-day basis. You're caught up in sort of the rat race of the human life. And so your sense of identity is really tied to just the human aspect of you, right? So learning to identify or navigate your inner world is recognizing first that your soul having a human experience. Once you identify and start to shift and move into this inner knowing, right, through contemplation, through meditation, through the various practices that I shared before in last week's lives, then you can start to navigate these different aspects of yourself, right? The mental body, start recognizing that the mind, the whole purpose of the mind is to think thoughts. It has thought forms, and thought forms are energy bubbles, if you want to think of them, that has certain energetic frequencies to them. Usually there can be very dense thought forms, there can be very light thought forms, and you can identify as a soul having this human experience with these thought forms, or you can disidentify or detach from these thought forms, right? So that's a part and an aspect of the mental body, right? You can start to recognize that the mental body is here to think thoughts, right? And the mental body can be influenced by your soul, by your higher self, to think higher thoughts, to be inspired, to receive insights, right? But a lot of times, if we're not tapped into our soul selves, if we're not tapped into our spiritual selves, the mind can just sort of run amok and be in this monkey mind, or it can just be, the mind has different aspects of it too. You have the subconscious and the conscious mind, and the superconscious, which is I call your soul self, your intuitive self, right? And if you're not tapped into knowing that you're a soul having this human experience and that you have these different aspects of the mind, right, then you can get caught in feeling stuck and feeling trapped and not being in this sort of cyclical loop of like negative repetitive thoughts, negative emotions and behaviors, because your subconscious mind is just constantly on this loop of past programming, right? From the ages of 0 to 7, usually that shapes our personality. And then as we get older, that even more life events and experiences shape who we become, right? And so these different life experiences form our different identities, as well as shape and form how we show up and experience life on the planet, right? So when we experience life on the planet only identified as a human being, then we can't really go beyond the human aspect of ourselves and transcend sort of these lower, denser energy vibrations and move into higher frequencies of love, joy, peace, our natural states of being, right? So going back to the mental body, recognizing that there's aspects of the mental body, which is your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and then the superconscious mind, which I like to just call your soul, right? And so recognizing that once your soul having a human experience, you can now then take the power back and start to reprogram your subconscious mind, especially if you have beliefs and behaviors that are not in alignment with who you want to be, right? Start utilizing certain tools of repetition, of hypnosis, of various different tools that you can utilize, like emotional freedom technique and things like that, to reprogram the subconscious mind. And then going into the emotional body, right? Doing emotional, techniques to heal the emotional trauma, so that, emotions and mental body, the emotional body and the mental body are definitely heavily linked together. And so when you have this sort of understanding of your inner world and how it works, you have thoughts, you have feelings, you have sensations, and then you have like your personality and your personal preferences, then you can start to navigate these different aspects, right? And so I like to bring it back to sort of just what I like to call the alignment map, which is your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and your belief systems lead to actions, and actions lead to results. Usually it's not just that cut and dry, but let's say it's just that cut and dry for the purpose of this video. And so when to navigate your inner world, you start recognizing that, oh, I'm consistent of these thoughts, emotions, feelings, and sensations. And when I'm in the midst of these thoughts, emotions, feelings, and sensations, I can then change them to produce a different action and or reaction or response to life, which then will produce a different result in my life. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if that's making sense in the comments below. So just to recap, the first piece is first re-identifying as your true self, soul self, having this human experience. And then the second piece is recognizing the different aspects of your inner world, right? Which is what I kind of covered, which is the 4 bodies. You have the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, sensations, and then you also have the spiritual body, right? So once you start to identify and recognize that you have these different aspects of your inner world, then you can then not manipulate, but you then can start to change and be a conscious co-creator, conscious creator with your higher self to navigate your inner world such that you can create more peace and ease in your day-to-day life. So instead of, let's bring it down to an example. Give me an example. Let's do a basic example. If you drive a car and maybe you're in a busy city and someone cuts you off or like honks at you, right? The immediate like sort of reaction or response would be to get angry. Like the emotion would be anger. Thoughts would be, how dare this person do XYZ? The sensation is tension in the chest or tension in the body because you feel jolted, right? That's sort of a reaction or a response to that life event. And then so maybe that produces the action of you cursing at the driver who cut you off, right? And then that produces a different result of maybe getting in an accident or the driver cursing at you or something else bad happening, right? So that's just sort of an example, right? So in that moment, you were identified as a human being responding to that life event, which produced a certain action, which produced a certain result, right? So in this knowing, when you start to identify with your higher self, you can then start to change your responses and change your reactions to life, such that you can start producing different actions and different responses, inner responses and outward responses to life, and then producing different results. So that's usually just basically how it works. So that's really how you navigate your inner world, is recognizing, one, that you're still having human experience, two, that you can change and influence and master these different aspects of your inner world, your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies, right? And then through navigating these different aspects of yourself, you can produce different results in your life, doing the inner work, doing the spiritual work, doing the emotional healing, doing the alignment of the different chakras of your, 7 main chakras, and aligning with your soul self, such that you start producing different results. And one of those different results is more inner peace, more sense of ease with life, because you recognize that you're not just your thoughts, you're not just your emotions, and you're not just this human self. You're beyond this. You're more than just the human body that you're inhabiting, right? You are a soul, and you have the options to then utilize these tools called the mental, emotional, physical bodies at your disposal, because you came here to play in this earthly human suit, right? And as you're playing in this earthly human suit, you can now produce different and have different responses and different things in your life to produce different results and different actions and reactions and responses to life, which then produces different results, right? And one of those different results can be inner peace, joy, and love for what you're doing, right? So that's really the crux of it. Let me know if that's making sense in the comments, and I'll go ahead and open up the chat for any questions that you might have in regards to today's live topic, or any questions that you have in general for coaching in general, so we can dive more deeply into this topic of navigating the inner world. I tried to break it down in the most simplest of ways. Hopefully that makes sense moving forward. So let me know if you have any questions. If not, I will hop off. But yeah, that's basically the gist of how to navigate your inner world, right? Recognizing the different aspects of your inner world, such that you can master these different aspects of your inner world, such that you can produce different results. And one of those different results is more a sense of peace and ease in your day-to-day life, because you're no longer at effect to what happens, because you are now in control, right? You become the master of your inner world. You become the master of your human responses. You become the master of your behaviors. You become the master of your thoughts. You're no longer at effect to just sort of habitual subconscious programming that you might have had since you were a child, or trauma that might have happened to you. You've healed and done the inner work to heal these different aspects of yourself, such that you can then move and navigate your life with greater ease, with greater sense of peace, with greater sense of inner control and inner awareness of who you truly are, such that life becomes more easy, such that life becomes more peaceful, because you're no longer operating from this chaotic sense of self, right? This chaotic or disjuncted or disjointed aspect. You're no longer fragmented in the way that you think, the way that you see the world. Everything starts to come into alignment, right? Because you're tuned in to your true self, and you're mastering these different aspects of yourself. So hopefully that makes sense. And as always, flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being. Your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore, journey through, and traverse. So remember, what you conceive is what you'll receive. What you expect is what you'll get. And however you feel is what will become real for you. So vibrate higher. And I will chat with you guys next time. Also remember that I have a free masterclass that I'll pop a link in the chat, in the description box below this video to check out. And I'm going to be launching a course pretty soon, so stay tuned for that as well. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another topic where we're diving into the journey within embracing our true soul selves. Talk to you guys later. Peace, love, and light.